Obviously proud of our football team. I think that those week one games are really hard to, prepare for when you have so much turnover in your roster like we've had. And, I think there's a lot of unknowns that happen throughout the course of the game. So I think what we challenged our guys all week long was just to make sure we were able to adjust and make sure that we were sound in those adjustments through the course of the football game. And I thought that happened. We took advantage of a couple turnovers and mishaps in the second half, and we were able to turn those into points, and that kind of turned it into kind of a one-sided game. But credit to Duquesne in the first half. I thought they played really, really sound football and played tough. And that program is a winning program and a playoff team for a reason. There's a lot of pride in that locker room. So a lot of guys participated tonight. I thought our crowd was excellent tonight. I thought we had a lot of positives to take and pull off from this thing. And going into a little bit of a longer week into week two here, we want to see some growth in some areas and take some jumps that way, and see how this thing progresses from week one to week two.
How pleased were you? I mean, you talked about Duquesne played well in the first half. How pleased were you offensively that it wasn't as close as maybe it could have been?
I think our efficiency, like the quarterback got off to a great start, you know what I mean, and he's hitting the receiver's hands and doing a good job getting the ball to where it needs to go. And really, I think the passing game the entire night was really efficient. High completion percentage and, not a ton of yards due to some short fields. But, when you got 1 and 2 and 88 and those guys, like getting those guys the ball in their hands early and often, that's a recipe for success. And the quarterback understands that. So, I thought he was really good at the line of scrimmage. The communication and the helmet thing and him being able to check plays and do that kind of stuff I thought was really, really good. And happy for him to get off to a great start to his season.
Jason, you had a ton of guys from Northwest Ohio make huge plays in the first half, like Bryson, Braden, and like 5 guys. What does that say about just football in Northwest Ohio? And how cool is it to see the local guys?
Yeah, I think when you walk out of this room and you walk down the hall, you see those guys in those NFL uniforms. Many of those guys are, they're local guys, and to see those current players out there make those plays and really just that's a big moment for them to be in front of their family and their people and to do that in their home city. I think that's a major thing. And then you look on the sidelines, there's Dallas Gann at the game, there's Brian Koback at the game, there's Adam Beal from last year's team at the game. Like, there's all these local guys that are back, and they're here on the sidelines with you. So it means a great deal to our city to have guys that have had success, whether that be in the NFL or on to their career is over and the cleats are off and they're in the corporate world doing really, really good things. And it's a clear picture of what success looks like for our current players and hopefully, future Rockets that come here.
The defensive starters that didn't play, was that mostly precautionary?
Those guys, in DA's case, Dre's case, a couple of those other, those guys are all injury. Those are things that are, mending and healing and trying to come out of camp here and, hopefully get those guys back here in the coming weeks.
Hammer's a guy that just kind of came out of nowhere, I think, to everyone. Obviously didn't play last year. Was he someone who just kind of showed up in camp as like, hey, he can make a difference in the return game, and how much of an impact, like a scout team type role, did he make last year?
Well, I think this is the cool thing about sports. That guy as a receiver is still on the scout team, but yet he's out here making first team reps as the punt returner and doing a really good job. Lots of young players can't handle that. They can't emotionally handle being on the scout team, and they feel like they're a failure. And this is a guy that just progresses and continues to improve and get better. He is a very good receiver, and we'll have success playing wide receiver here. There's just a couple really good guys that are in front of him right now, but he's got a unique skill set. He's really got great hand-eye coordination, as you saw tonight, and he does a good job catching the punts. We trust him back there, and he's certainly good enough to make something happen when he gets the ball in his hands, as you saw tonight. So, I really think that a young player coming into your program, they want to make an impact on special teams. That's a high priority and high emphasis for us, and to be able to do that now, necessarily you can progress and almost project what it's going to look like for him someday on the offensive side of the ball too.
Offensive line, one of the starters was out today, but just overall, all new guys, none of them had ever started a college game before. What did you think of their play tonight?
I think pretty efficient. We had a couple misses in pass protection early in the game that turned into sacks or quarterback hits that we got to clean up. But I don't think those were not knowing what to do type of things. Those are maybe just technique things that maybe in a live situation or setting that maybe guessing and just guessed wrong. So I'll look at the tape and see what's up there. But I thought, those guys did a pretty good job, up front and doing a good job communicating. And there wasn't a lot of glaring mistakes where guys were just turned loose and disrupting the pass game.
Another young guy that we got to see shine tonight was Marion Lang. Just what kind of impression has he already made in his early stages in this Rocket program?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd say the same thing about him as I said about Bryson. Infectious young player that brings great energy to practice each and every day. Works really, really hard. Elite quickness. Playmaker when he gets the ball in his hands. That kind of thing. Got a really bright future here. Just like I echo the same things like I said about Bryson.
You also mentioned wanting to see a jump from week 1 to week 2. What does it mean to have 10 days now from having played on a Thursday for that kind of?
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, it gives you a full day tomorrow to put this one to bed, and try to get your injured guys. We've got a couple more days here as you get in the game prep for next week. So hopefully it leads to a great start to a good week of practice. And we're gonna have to rely on really good practice the entire year to get to where we want to go. So we'll take as many days as we can get them in between.
I don't know how much you guys see walking in or riding in on the buses, but the lots were all pretty full. The students were packed in. What did you think of just the atmosphere and kind of the excitement in the air for this game?
Yeah, I think our students were awesome, and I think from the minute we walk off from kicking the last field goal in pregame warm-up and they're sprinting on the field there, I mean, you can feel their energy the entire time, and I think that's not only us but also our opponent. And, to have the glass bowl full, to have a electric crowd, to have people energized about the product that we've been able to put on the field, and then all the external things that our administration is doing a good job with, I think that is hopefully a recipe here that leads to a lot of success and a great momentum in 2024 here for us.
You mentioned it a little bit in your opening statement, but just now having used it in a game, what did you think of the in-helmet communication, both offense and defense?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, some coaches this week were public about not liking it, but, a change is coming. You know what I mean? I guess if we don't change, I guess you go back to wearing leather helmets. So, you got to just adapt and figure it out and go forward and see what's up. But I think it's awesome. I think it helps. I think it makes our game faster. I think it makes our game, in a way, safer. When everybody's on the same page and doing what it needs to do, there's not glaring holes and glaring mistakes and people getting free hits and things like that. So, yeah, I'm all for it. And I think the communication stuff on the sideline is, an iPad, whatever, I can see that being sometimes a little bit of a distraction. Everybody wants to have something to look at instead of maybe paying attention to the game and paying attention to what they're supposed to do. So I think there's some kinks we got to continue to iron out through that process of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's all positive.
Can you talk about Braden's progression? Obviously, a big impact on defense tonight.
Huge impact on special teams last year. I think you can again, we've talked about a guy here earlier who had great special teams performance tonight, and you can kind of project how that looks down the road. So it's where it starts. It's where it started for 9 of the 10 guys out there on that wall that were draft picks. The only one that didn't was Woodside and the quarterback. So, if you're a great player and you're gonna on your progression to be a great player, most of those guys started there. Maxon Hook was an elite special teams player when he was a young player, young safety. Quinion Mitchell was an elite special teams player as a young player. So Braden's done a great job. Braden's got a great relationship with the position coach who coaches the tails off of those dudes, and they do a great job developing. He had great pictures of what success looked like last year, and Zach Ford and Nate Bauer and those guys that have played a long time, understands the value of communication, hard work, discipline, all that stuff. He's a winner. He comes from a great program right here in our city, and you can't say enough good things about him.
Game like this, obviously a lot of guys get touches and minutes. How does that help build depth going into the season?
Well, I think it's huge. You never can go into a game feeling like it's going to be a one-sided game, because I think sometimes that leads to overlooking some things in the preparation of it. So I think having as many guys dialed into what the game plan is, we really practiced 3 groups all week this week, and we're going to have to do that at times through the season to develop the depth that we want to have. There's, as I mentioned before, in preseason camp, there's 60 new guys on our team that have never been through a preseason practice, and that was their first experience in a college football game. So with us, you know what I mean? So I think that the depth is going to continue to develop. It's going to continue to show up in moments. We're going to need it to show up probably in some big moments, some ones that right now on paper we probably would say, oh my gosh, that scares the you-know-what out of me. But I hope that by then and those moments show up, good players are ready to step up when another good player maybe goes down.
How, Juwan Jr. and Torres last year kind of showed, they can be these big-time players. They all had touchdown catches tonight. How much, I don't know, of like a security blanket, comfort factor kind of is there with those guys?
Yeah, there's definitely like when in doubt, I know one of those guys is going to be open, and I know that if I can just get the ball into their hands, they're going to do something special with it. Junior Vander Ross might be the most dynamic player in our conference. Get the ball in his hand and he's going to run for days, and everybody saw what Juwan did with that little glance route today. Took it for 55 yards, threw somebody off of him. So it's all about just getting the ball into their hands and letting them do the work.
And then, what's it like for the quarterback to have all new guys in front of you, several of which were transfers you haven't played with or anything?
I think it'd be a little bit different, if I had, started in the past, and had different guys. But I'm brand new as a starter too. So we're all coming in together. And I told those 5 guys up front before the game started. I said, I got your back if you got mine. And we're gonna ride this thing together. Until the wheels fall off.
So going off of that, how do you feel like the offensive line did play? You got sacked twice, but
Yeah, I think they did great. I think, coming in week 1, it's always a little hard game planning wise because you don't know exactly what they're going to do. It was a new defensive coordinator over there, so we weren't sure exactly, what they'd show us, and they showed a little bit different than what they showed on film last year. So I think just kind of getting that piece in there, I think those guys will be fine. They played great, and, I love having those guys in front of me.
Just to get the first one out of the way, I know running around the stadium you were, talking to your family afterward, just kind of what did that mean for you to kind of get that?
Yeah, it was awesome. I've started, 2 games since the Eastern Michigan game, but that was the last time I had won a game as a starter. So to kind of win another game as a starter, it's a good feeling. And having my parents there is, they're my biggest supporters. So I love, being able to go up to them after the game and talk to them.
Football games are always kind of quarterbacks kind of looked at like the win-loss record and all that. The bowl game for you, did this 9 months, 8 months, whatever it is, have a bad taste?
Absolutely. I would have loved to play better in the bowl game, and that kind of ate at me for the last 8 months, 9 months, whatever it's been, and so I really just wanted to come out here and put on a good performance and show everybody that's not who I am right there. What I am tonight, that's who I am.
Being a local kid and everything, how exciting was this for you tonight to do this in front of, I'm sure you had a lot of family and friends here?
It was awesome. Every game, my parents and friends and family, they come to every home game, so it's awesome. And to be able to, actually play a lot more snaps than I did last year was awesome. To have a good game in front of them, and for them and me to experience that.
How cool is it just for football in Northwest Ohio? I think you had Perrysburg represented Fremont, a few guys from Toledo, just all had huge plays in the first half. And I guess the forced fumble by Peyton in the second half. But what does that just say about football in Toledo? Just kind of the pride you guys have for Northwest Ohio football. Little chit chat with the guys on the team. They try to say Florida football, this, Georgia football, but the guys from Toledo, Ohio, Northwest Ohio, and just Ohio football in general, we can play football too, and we're just up there with the best of them. Is there kind of good-natured rivalry talk with, not a rivalry, but provincial talk, like the Florida guys saying that Ohio football's nothing?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but you got to give it to them. Florida and Georgia, they produce some of the best athletes in the entire world, so it's good to have a little something you can say back to them.
How much did Central prepare you, do you think, for college?
I'd say a lot. There's great coaches over there, great teachers. Central is a great place, and they prepare you for college, life, football. They prepare you for everything, and coming from a winning program like that, it was good for me to it was a good foundation for me going from Central to come here at Toledo.
What in particular do you think prepared you the most? Not even if it's necessarily football. Maybe if it was school, college.
Just people like Coach Brown, Coach Martin, and Mrs. McGee over there. They always make sure I got grades right first, and then football, and always keep me on a good path. And Coach Dempsey as well. There's great people over there, and they care more about a person than they are a football player, and I think that was good for me.
When you kind of got that first like pass breakup, I think it was like on a third down, like you were so fired up. Like, how did that kind of energize you the rest of like the game for the other big plays that you then made?
You know, I mean, starting off the game hot, it's good. It's good for you. Get some momentum going. You know, once you get that after that first snap, the first like hit, all the nerves go away, like Tuck said. And you know, after that first play, I made a good play on the slant that he ran. You know, he was calm and just smooth sailing after that.
I don't know if you anticipated getting a pick tonight, but just what was that feeling like?
You know, it was awesome. I mean, kind of threw it right to me. I don't know what's much to say about that, but you know, it was good to get that out of the way in my first college start. But yeah.
Yeah, for your experience on special teams last year, just how did that kind of help transition you to be, on defense, to get to defense?
You know, I'd say special teams it's a huge part of the game, and you know, playing an important role in special teams last year put me in a good position this year to be able to make plays last year and going in and making plays on defense against special teams this year.
How far could you have ran if you wouldn't have fallen down?
I was talking about. I think I was probably scoring that if I wasn't on the ground. Yeah, because all the receivers were deep. You know, unfortunately, I fell down. But yeah.